Here we're asked to find, or we'll define what it meant by the absolute maximum and minimum values of a function. To have a look at that, basically you're asked to find the greatest and least value of the function f of x. I'll just the greatest and least value of this function f of x over the domain between a and b. So we want to know what is the greatest value and the least value, or what's called absolute maximum and absolute minimum. We'll now just go through a little template as to the way you can actually remember to do this evaluation of finding absolute maximum and absolute minimum. So another word is the greatest and least value. So we want to know what's the biggest value this function is going to take and what's the least value it's going to take over function a and b. Now if we look at this one here, the greatest value that the function will take, if we just go up the y-axis and see where the greatest one is, not actually where we have a maximum. The greatest value is going to be that value there. And that occurs when x is equal to b, not when you have a maximum here. Likewise, the smallest value the function is going to take is not actually at that end value, but the least value is going to occur when we do have a turning point and a local minimum. So to get over the confusion that could be arise just by calling maximum minimum, this is why we call it absolute. Absolute is the actual greatest value. It does not necessarily occur at a turning point. So the greatest value occurs actually at the end point, and the least value actually occurs when we do have a local minimum. So that would be the smallest value of the function over the domain AB, and this would be the greatest value of the function over the domain AB. So let's go through the template and what steps are involved. So what do you do if you're asked to find the absolute maximum, the absolute minimum of a function? The first step would be to find the turning points over the domain. Now, there is no point if this graph goes down and there is another minimum over here, because we're only asked to find the greatest and least value over a certain domain. It's no point finding minimums or maximums that are outside that domain. So you find turning points that are between A and B, if you like. Okay, so that's your first step. Your second step of the template is to evaluate the function. That means find the corresponding y values for each of the turning points over the domain. So that will give you, in this case, it would give you that y value and that y value. So you've calculated those two. Your third step is to evaluate the function for each n value. End, as in the least value in the domain and the greatest value. So you put a, whatever a is, into the function and find out what its y value would be, and you put b into f of x and you'd find out what that value would be. And your last step of the template is to write down your answer. So you scan through these two evaluations. You'll have multiple values here for the function. The absolute minimum will be the least value that you've calculated here, and the absolute maximum will be the greatest value that you have calculated in steps 2 and 3. So that, in summary, is a template that you can work through to find absolute maximum minimums, or another way of saying that is the greatest and least value of a function over a particular domain. So in the next little video we'll go through and we'll actually do an example to show you how that happens.